Many patients have told me that this is one of the most distressing parts of early treatment because it feels extreme and because it feels immediate. This emotional reaction is understandable because rapid body changes can be triggering. But remember, it's temporary. The science of swelling. Today, we're going to talk about why it's common to become swollen and puffy during recovery and what we can do about it. This part of recovery is really not talked about enough, and lots of you have asked, so let's break it down. So you start eating again, you're trying to recover, and then within days, sometimes hours, your legs swell, your face looks puffy, and maybe your stomach feels tight. You know, in recovery, after prolonged starvation or dehydration, often seen in bulimia, anorexia, OSFED, ARFID, sudden swelling is so incredibly common. This swelling is normally fluid. Fluid shifts fast. If something changes dramatically in days, it's almost always fluid, and I promise you, this is your body trying to stabilize, not jeopardize you. So I'll explain why this happens, what to expect, how long it takes to resolve, get back to normal, and what we can do about it. Swell. Sorry. My name's Chooks, award-winning psychiatry doctor and best-selling author with a specialist interest in eating disorders. Our bodies are mostly water. Our brain and our heart are about 3/4 water. Lungs, over 80% water. Muscle and kidneys, just shy of 80%. Even bones, about 30% water. Water isn't just something we drink. It's the environment every cell in our body lives in. Think of your body like a city built around rivers. Those rivers, what do? They deliver nutrients, remove waste, carry hormones, regulate temperature. So when someone's been restricting, purging, or is just chronically dehydrated, the body's water regulation systems become extremely sensitive. So when refeeding starts or nutrition improves, the system doesn't just instantly reset. There's a delay, which means it overcorrects. And that's when swelling begins. Most people assume, I must be drinking too much water. Usually that's not the problem. On average, men need about 3 litres of water per day, and women need about maybe 2.2 per day. In recovery, the issue is rarely intake, it's retention. So your kidneys are being told to hold on to water, and there's 3 main ways this happens, which leads to swelling. And understanding them will make it much easier to understand what to do afterwards. Okay, so the first way you get swollen involves anti-diuretic hormone, ADH. The word diuretic is from diuresis, which means to urinate freely. And since it's anti-diuretic, it literally just means against urinating freely. So ADH is essentially a water-saving hormone. It's a hormone made in our brain, in our regulatory center called the hypothalamus, with a very simple job. Do not let go of water. We might need it. So when you're dehydrated or malnourished, ADH rises. We need to hold on to all the water we can. And the same is true the other way around. So if you've had a lot to drink, ADH falls. Now this is protective, which is why when you haven't had much water to drink, your body doesn't easily let go of the water and your wee ends up being yellow. And when you've had a lot to drink, you can't stop going to the toilet, right? But when refeeding starts and you start drinking as normal, ADH doesn't instantly drop. Our kidneys keep hold of the water and don't let it go. They keep reabsorbing extra water, and the result? Fluid retention. Swelling. Your body still behaves like there's a drought, even though food and water is coming in again. The second way swelling happens involves insulin. Now this one surprises people. When eating improves and the body is in a much less starved state, insulin rises. Insulin lowers blood sugar, but it also does a whole bunch of other things which never really get talked about. One of the other things it does is it tells the kidneys to hold on to sodium. And by the way, sodium and water are best buds. It's a bit technical, but essentially where sodium goes, water follows. Which is why people with high blood pressure are often advised to follow a low sodium diet, because having excess sodium causes the body to retain water, which increases the volume of your blood, which then raises your blood pressure even further. So in this case, insulin causes the absorption of sodium, which causes the absorption of water. Now this is why in the early stages of recovery, people can rapidly gain weight. Normally, most noticeable on the legs, the face, and the abdomen. Now this can feel dramatic, especially later in the day when it's typically worse, given the gravity pulls fluid downward. But I like to encourage my patients and emphasize that this is a predictable biological response, a fluid shift, and it stabilizes as insulin levels normalize. During these initial phases of recovery, a period called the refeeding period, when the risk of swelling is high and when insulin is a bit erratic, it's also so important to monitor the main electrolytes, so sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chloride, bicarbonate, phosphate. It's a simple blood test but can make a huge difference. If not closely watched, there's a risk of something called refeeding syndrome, which we won't get into in this video, but it's not good at all and can be life-threatening. And we'll talk about refeeding in another video. Hey guys, Dr. Chuks here. I hope you're enjoying today's video. I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to give you a word of encouragement and say that you carry immense value. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel, a place where you guys are able to appreciate yourselves more and connect with your bodies through empowering, transparent, evidence-based knowledge, cutting through all the junk and misleading information which unfortunately exists out there. So make sure you subscribe so you can check out all the latest videos when they drop, where I answer your burning questions about body and eating issues. You know what we say here, if it's burning, we're learning. Back to the video. Okay, so the third way you can get swollen is called pseudo-Bartter syndrome. Now this fancy name is from the 60s by a guy called Frederick Barter, an American hormone specialist. He was a hormone specialist. Yeah, I have no idea whether he was hormonal or not. We think of pseudo-Bartter syndrome when we think of people who have been chronically dehydrated, so dehydrated for a long time. So this is especially important if someone has been vomiting or using laxatives or using diuretics, because people who have been doing these things, so vomiting, using laxatives, using diuretics, are normally chronically dehydrated. And when people are dehydrated, they often have a low blood pressure. Now, this low blood pressure activates a powerful hormone system called the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. And this renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system screams, blood pressure is low, save sodium at all costs. And remember what I was saying earlier about the body holding onto sodium so it can hold onto water. And so this renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system is pretty clever and saves sodium by telling the adrenal glands to release this hormone called aldosterone. So aldosterone has two main functions. It tells the kidneys to reabsorb sodium and also gets rid of potassium. As it's absorbing sodium, it's also getting rid of lots of potassium, which is why in clinic we make sure our patients are on potassium supplements too. But we'll talk about potassium in another video. Let's focus on sodium. So when purging suddenly stops and health improves, this aldosterone, which has been reabsorbing lots of sodium to try and keep the blood pressure up, it stays high for 1 to 3 weeks. So the body aggressively holds onto sodium and water after purging has stopped for up to 3 weeks. And I've known it go beyond 3 weeks, but that's on rare occasions. This can cause rapid swelling, puffy legs, puffy face, swollen belly, abdominal distension. Many patients have told me that this is one of the most distressing parts of early treatment because it feels extreme and because it feels immediate. This emotional reaction is understandable because rapid body changes can be triggering. But remember, it's temporary. Okay, so before we talk about how long recovery takes, there's actually a fourth way in which we can swell, which is far less common, but any good clinician will still check it anyway. I think by now you guys are seeing just how many ways in which the body can swell, right? So the fourth way is low albumin. Albumin is a protein made by the liver and it helps keep fluid inside blood vessels. But if albumin is very low, which is usually the case in inflammation and serious ill health like starvation, then fluid can leak into tissues, hence swelling. Okay, so good news. As nutrition improves and recovery progresses, as ADHD settles, aldosterone falls, insulin stabilizes, as your kidneys recalibrate, then the body gradually gets rid of all this excess fluid, but not all at once, steadily, days to a few weeks. Now, while this is happening, there are a few things that you can do to help the process. So obviously, number one, good, steady nutrition. That goes without saying. But you can also, rest assured knowing that this is your body doing its thing. Monitor electrolytes. Your family doctor can help you with this. They may want to monitor, like I said earlier, your potassium, especially in cases of pseudo-Bartter syndrome. You want to elevate those legs. You want to move that fluid away to help to minimize the swelling. And also you might want to have compression stockings or something that can really help get that fluid away so the swelling appears less extreme. Strong diuretics are usually avoided unless medically necessary. The goal isn't to fight the body, it's to let it reset. You know, imagine you've gone for a run and your heart is beating quickly, let's say 140 beats per minute. You wouldn't expect a doctor to give you medication like a beta blockers to slow it down. You know, your heart's beating fast because it's a natural response to what's going on. So we don't force anything. So when it comes to swelling, it's literally the same thing. Forcing water is not a good idea and can worsen the hormonal imbalance. Anyway, guys, I really hope this has been useful and has made sense, most importantly. And if you're in this phase right now, you're not alone. Let me know in the comments whether you've had swelling. I'd love to know how you found it. And also, let me know whether there's anything else you'd like me to cover or anything that wasn't entirely clear. Take care, guys, and hold on to hope.